3000.
What is doing? My name's Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I am joined today by Mawson from Legless Records and a couple of bands, man. How many bands?
Few.
Do you want to tell us?
I actually lost count. Stiff Richards and Split System are probably my main ones.
Yep.
Doe St, who's a local band down here. We haven't been playing much lately. Polute. What else is there? I've got a new project at the moment. We haven't named it yet, but it's probably like 5 or 6 things in the works.
The naming of bands is interesting. So you're in that point where you've formed the collective and you don't know what to... Because there's that many...
It's a fucking nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to come up with something that's somewhat original. How do you do that now?
Well, I don't know. I'm in a band called Stiff Richards, so it's a pretty bad name.
I'd imagine, do the Stiff Richards get confused with the hard-on sometimes?
Nah. I don't know. I think a band name, you become the name or the name becomes the band. Like there's names like the Doors or the Beatles or something. Like, I don't know. I don't think a good band name is necessarily like reflective of the band.
Very true.
Yeah.
The thing is with the Beatles, though, the Doors are just the Doors. I guess it's a door to your soul, the door to whatever. They can make up.
I think there's a story there. I don't know it, but yeah.
But the Beatles is spelled different to a Beatle, which makes it interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of my bands, Polute. We did like a single L as well. Like just changed it a little bit, but I don't know. I think the music is always the thing that translates, and then the name just sort of becomes a band. Then
Yeah. Let the music do the talking.
Yeah, totally.
And it's cool, though, when you get something like Split System, which is something that fucking everyone sort of has and talks about now.
Yeah.
But when you put it in the context of music, it sounds fucking cooler.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
The Split System was going to be Zen Boys at one point.
Right.
Which I didn't mind, but Split System was kind of cool. It just worked. It looked good wrand as well. Also, like there's the air conditioners, but then like I feel like we live in a pretty split system at the moment as well. So
and that's exactly it, man. Split is a cool word. System is like, you're against the system. It kind of they're two cool words you mash them together. It comes up with a cool band name.
But people will create their own meanings as well. Like I'm not too I don't look into it too much.
Yeah,
it's what feels right, I guess.
And people do that with music too. They'll be like, "Oh, this song spoke to me because I really got it." And sometimes the songwriter will be like, "Oh, I never had that intention."
Well, Wolfgang from Stiffies is he'll like sort of play off a line or a group of words or something that he likes, and he'll write stuff around it, and he doesn't necessarily have full meaning to it. And people have spoken to him heaps about like what they've attached to it, and he's like, it's not at all what I was thinking. But I think that's the kind of cool thing about art and music. Like people can get their own interaction with something, their own feedback or emotion that they receive from
It's in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like a lot. We could both listen to the same thing.
Yeah.
I take something from it totally different to you do.
Of course. Yeah.
And that's one really awesome thing about music.
Yeah. But all art, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get into all that sort of stuff, but we've got to start sort of at the beginning, man. Your journey with music, growing up, that sort of thing. You grow up down this way?
I grew up in Frankston.
So not far.
Not far, yeah.
Not far. And what's a young guy doing in Frankston getting into the music scene?
Not much, really. Like, my friendship group when I was in Frankston wasn't really doing much interesting. It was pretty rough. I played in a few, like, little groups with friends, but we're playing, like, acoustic shit and, like, not stuff that I was super into. I grew up with, like, rockabilly and rock and roll and stuff. My dad was in, like, rockabilly and rock and roll bands.
So it's always had the influence there.
Yeah, but it was sort of when I hit 18 that a few mates, a couple of mates from Frankston sort of introduced me to like bands like Eddie Current, UV Race, stuff like that. And then that's where my sort of new love for music sort of came from. So,
and Eddie Current was sort of based around that sort of area
Frankston
too.
as well. Yeah,
makes it more accessible.
Yeah,
feels like you can sort of
exactly. And like half our mates, like I think like most of our friends from Frankston either moved to the city or moved to Rye, and that's when I started making friends. I guess going from like a child into adulthood and actually having my independence from like living at home and being at school, and sort of made new friends and explored those like new things in like adulthood, like finding the things that I actually liked.
Yeah,
like going to more gigs and
It's interesting, the Frankston sort of scenario, like you said, people that probably follow money or artistic stuff generally would go to the city.
Yep.
Or if you just chill and you're like, chase something a bit more affordable, maybe move further down the peninsula.
Well, I think at that period as well, like a lot of skate and surf culture, like surf movies and stuff, is where a lot of us found our music as well. So I chose to go to the beach, but like a lot of my friends from down here and stuff were like still, I guess, like pretty obsessed with music, and that had a huge influence on me as well. It was like, I remember like a new skate film or surf film would come out and you'd be like sifting through the soundtrack and shit. So yeah.
So what year are we talking here in your teenage years?
Well, what year am I now? I'm 33, so I would have been like 17, 18 at that point.
Yep.
Do the maths. Too tired. But yeah, about 13 to 15 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, so you're born in the early 90s.
91, yeah.
91.
Yeah.
Which is a pivotal time for a lot of different culture, a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
The 90s, a lot changes musically, the internet, there's a lot of stuff.
Oh, it's everything, yeah.
Everything's happening.
I've spoken about it with my friends a bit. Like, I feel like we were right in the transitional period of, like, my school life. There was no computers and stuff. There'd be, like, a computer room, and you're not really working on the computers because it'd take half the class to load up.
Yeah.
So, we were really in a transitional period between, like, the modern technological era, I guess. So
yeah, and that's definitely the 90s to early 2000s. Technology's there if you want to embrace it, and if you don't, you could just not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just forget about it if you did it. Now we don't have that option. You've got it. You've got
everyone's connected. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in any capacity.
Yeah.
So the early days of music in Frankston, your dad's already part of a scene of sorts. That's not really what you're about, but it's cool to have grounding in there.
Yeah, that's I guess that's what I grew up with, and that gave me like influence and I guess a push into music and stuff. So.
And that got to help. There's musicians around. There's equipment around the house.
Yep.
He played guitar.
He played guitar. He played double bass as well. He played a bit of everything.
In that sort of rockabilly thing.
Rockabilly, rock and roll and stuff. But it wasn't until I left home, sort of moved to Rye, and then I feel like I've lived in the city like for half my life, but half my mates are up there. So we go up to the city every weekend, stay there, go to gigs and stuff, and come back down again.
So was the push to move to the city there, or you just thought, if I've got my mates there, I can just do my thing down the peninsula?
Sort of like half our mates had share houses and stuff, so we could always just go up and stay anyway. So I think that's where like my own personal like love for music and my own like opinion and taste sort of started unfolding, I guess. Going to gigs with friends and
So paint a picture for us back at that time when you moved out of home, you're going to gigs with friends in the city.
Yeah.
The art house, you go in places like that. You go.
I didn't. I missed that era.
You just missed it.
I wasn't really a hardcore kid either. It was like a lot of my friends went to like the art house and stuff. I was like, I don't know. I'd like go to the corner. I can't even remember. Jesus, so long ago. Like because. Again, it wasn't with the internet. I'd sort of just follow friends to gigs, and I had older friends that had influence and stuff. So we'd get tickets, and I'd sort of just listen to some of my older mates and just follow along.
Yep.
It wasn't until like my mid-20s to late 20s that I actually started like playing in bands more. I was just jamming with mates for most of those early 20s.
Yep.
And just sort of going to gigs.
Are they in bands and you're just jamming with them, or you're just being an observer and someone who's interested in the scene?
So people liking music, I guess. I just go out with friends. I got like a good buddy Jacko that took me to a lot of things, and he was one of my early friends that I like jammed with in Frankston. But yeah, it wasn't until Stiff Richards that like I actually had a band and started playing like proper gigs in Melbourne.
Yep.
So
how does that come about then?
It was we had a jam house down in Rye with a few friends, and a couple of older buddies, Raph, who is in Stiff Richards now, and Drew, the old drummer. They had a gig where I think their guitarist was missing or something. So we got together and jammed on a Sunday. We needed a singer. Wolfgang had actually jammed at the jam house where we'd all met. And I remember he was like 18 at the time, and he came over on a Wednesday. He's like, "Do you mind if I sing?" And he used to love rapping and stuff. He had like all rhymes and lyrics and stuff in a book. Yeah. Within like, I reckon 45 minutes, he was naked spinning around on the floor, and we're like, let's get Wolfie in to sing. And what? So
he's like naked breakdancing.
Yeah, he's a nutcase. It's like people like think he's performing, but it's just him. Like he's got the same energy at fucking jams and stuff. So I think it was Sunday, me, Drew, and Raph jammed. On the Monday, Wolfie came over, and then we played a set on the Thursday, and that was like the birth of Stiff Richards, just to fill in with the. I didn't have a bad band name at that time, so yeah. It was all just like right time, right place, really. Yeah.
And so then you feel like we've got the crux of something here.
Yeah.
We've got Wolfie doing backspins in the nude.
Yeah.
You can play guitar. You got someone on the drums.
Yeah.
You're like, well, we need to put something together here.
We had like a really good response. The community down here loves music. So like we played the gig and we were like, that was actually all right. And the songs are all right. I don't even think we had another gig. And then I think Gaz was up. We had a jam at Cape Shank at a friend's house. And Gaz was there one night. We were just rehearsing and he ended up getting on the second guitar. And then I think the second gig was with Gaz. And then that was like the birth of Stiff Richards. I think the second gig was actually the Stiffies. So yeah, and just kept playing.
And who came up with the name, or how does that happen? You just
we've argued about this so many times. I don't know. My memory of it was that Wolfie was looking at a Cliff Richards record and he's just like, oh, what about Stiff Richards? But he's got another story as well. But it's kind of unclear. It was just like, I don't think we had any intention when we started. Yep. We just played gigs, we were hanging out, we had really good response from friends, started getting some gigs up in the city, and it just sort of kept going.
Yeah. And like any good name, it gets attention straight away, like a gig poster or whatever like that. You know, you see it, you're like, okay, you got my attention now.
Well, yeah, it's funny because it's a bit of a dumb name, but I'm glad that we like kind of persisted with it and like became a band that was like, I think at least respected for the music and not just like the joke as well.
That is a thing.
You get what I mean? Like, it was a bit of fun and we didn't care, but we also didn't shy away from it. It's like, no, this is what the band is. It's five mates having fun, and it was always that, and it always has been. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You want to have a cool name, but you also don't want that to overshadow the actual music.
Yeah, totally.
That's the plan, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So once you form the group, you start to play more gigs. Everyone's located down here at that stage?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're just travelling to the city to do gigs?
Yeah, Drew and Raph had some good connections up in town, and we just started getting put on some better gigs, kept playing, and I guess as we played more together, our writing got a little bit better.
Is it a collaborative writing process?
It was most of the time it's like me or Gaz bringing an idea to the band, and then we always finish it as a band. Right. So we'll have like 60 to 80% of a song done, or like a riff or something, and then we'll bring it in.
You're talking lyrics as well?
Nah, like Wolfie always does the lyrics.
Right. So
Gaz has actually written a few songs, most of the lyrics. But most of the songs have been Wolfie writing lyrics. Yep. But it'll be me or Gaz with a riff, and then we finish it as a band for sure.
Does that's interesting, because like you could come to the table and be like, musically, this is what we've got. This is how it sounds. It's 80% done.
Yeah.
Then you give it to the lyricist to put the lyrics on there. Yeah. Like, oh, that's not the direction we're taking it, but that just works.
But I even think with the musical side of things as well. Like, I know for both of us, like we'll bring a song to the band and have an intention and an idea, and it always ends up being its own beast. But I think that's the beauty of Stiffies. We'll always like follow the energy, and it either works with the band or doesn't. Yep. We never force it to be what our original idea was. You either have to like give into that and accept that it's become its own beast and its own song now.
Trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process. And it's like we've had some really good songs where like someone might just not be getting it, and then we just leave it or let it go. Like Wolfie might be not being like able to get lyrics to it or feel it. He feeds off of energy a lot as well. Yeah. So sometimes he's stuck, and we're like, we either rewrite it or just drop it and move on to another song. So
let it go.
And I think that's what's always been a good method for us, is like don't force anything. It's like feed off the positive energy. Yeah.
And I guess you can always come back to those ideas in the future if you think that they're too good to just fucking leave them. Well,
a lot of the songs that have been thrown away have then ended up like with later bands after Stiff Richards. You get the right combination of people, and like some of my old Stiff Richards songs have become a Polute track. And I know for Stringer, who's in Polute as well, he had some old Cutters songs that didn't work for that band. And so sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to be for the same band. You can try it with a different combination of people, and then this works.
Combination works with different bands.
Exactly.
Yeah. Does Wolfie ever come to the table with lyrics and then you do it the other way around? Is that rare?
Sometimes Wolfie's always got like words somewhere, and I don't think it'll be. Yeah, sometimes we'll start playing something and he'll just naturally go to those words that he's been playing with. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we've ever like written a song from his lyrics.
Yep.
I think it'd be like us walking in to rehearse and we start jamming something, and then all of a sudden he starts singing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
With a collective, like with how many members you got?
5 in Stiffies, yeah.
So you got 5 there.
Yeah.
Does everyone always see eye to eye musically?
Like I was saying then, like I think we've always just like, if something doesn't work, then we move on. Stiffies has always just been an energy thing. Someone will start playing something and then all of a sudden we've got a song. We don't sit and like write songs like heavily and spend heaps of time with it. Yeah. It'll be like
job.
Yeah, like someone starts playing and if it, like it'll either work or not, and you'll know pretty soon whether it's going to be something or not, and then you'll sort of fluff out and polish it up a little bit. But if you listen to our music, it's not super polished anyway. It is energy music, so.
And that's the essence of what that kind of music is.
You
don't want it to be polished.
No,
you want to hear the mistakes.
Yeah.
You want to make the most of that sort of stuff and hear the raw energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you start to record and then like tours start to happen, you've done some decent tours.
Well, I've only done 1 tour with Stiffies.
Really?
Yeah, we did. We hardly did. We played 2 shows in Sydney, and never left Victoria at all in like 6 years of playing.
So
and then went straight to the Europe tour. We did 2 Sydney shows. One with the Meanies. We did a whole weekend in Sydney with the Meanies. That was pretty early, and then we did 1 show with Celibate Rifles like a couple of years later. But from I think 2016 was when we started, and what do you reckon? 2022 was the Stiffies? I think 2022 was the Stiffies Europe tour, and it was the first time we toured.
Yeah.
Yeah, and only time.
But you just got back from Europe as well.
That was with Split System.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but from the Stiffies mentality, in the last, you've been together 8 years.
Yeah.
You've only done 2 gigs out of Victoria.
Yeah.
And that's it. But you managed to build a bit of a following as well.
Yeah. We've now played Adelaide and Brisbane once.
Okay.
But in like, nearly 8 years or something of playing, we've left for Europe. We did 1 Europe tour and we've probably played outside of Victoria 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
which is bizarre.
It's
crazy, yeah.
Because generally with bands that are on that sort of level and the similar trajectory, you've got to hit the road to sort of build a following.
Yeah.
You know? Like that's how people generally do it. Just play as many road shows as they can.
Yeah.
But you guys just...
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we've had no rules. And there's a lot of family stuff in it as well, like being able to go away. So, like, with Europe, it was a pretty special thing for us. We'd never had an opportunity to go away. So, that was, like, a really big thing. And it was, like, really well received as well. So, it'll be a special memory for this band because we don't have the capacity to travel much, so...
Because of everybody's current situations. Other bands, family stuff.
Family's first always, so, yeah.
So... The Stiffies form, you start to get some momentum, you do a few gigs, then kind of COVID-ish happens.
Yeah.
Because you don't take the show to Europe till after COVID.
After, yeah.
So COVID kind of happens, and as a musician, that's got to be tough for you, feeding off energy and playing gigs like that when you can't do that. So then you just try and put your energy into something else. Is that where Legless is born?
That's where Legless was born, yeah, exactly. So we were lucky, I think, from memory, we had State of Mind finished. And we'd played a couple of shows with Coffin as well. So in those early days, it was like, I think Tony Dork was my first release that wasn't like a Stiffies record. And then we had State of Mind and the Coffin album sitting there ready. And yeah, I think we're all in the same position. We couldn't reach audiences and stuff. And I was like, oh, let's just put records out while everything's slow. Yeah. And it was basically just friends helping each other put records out and keep some kind of energy alive. Mm-hmm. And through those few releases, a few more people asked me to put records out. I've literally like never had any experience doing it or anything, so I sort of made it up and
the proper DIY sort of shit.
Yeah, but through like collaboration and help through friends and stuff like that, sort of just kept trucking along. And then 2 years later, everything opened up, and I was like, it's actually working.
But I guess you're kind of lucky you had that to sink your teeth in when you weren't doing anything else. Like,
totally. Oh, but I always try to find something. I never accept being bored. It was pretty confusing in downtime, but I was like, all right, come on, we can still get shit done. So, yeah. So
then you come up with the name Legless, which is pretty sick.
Yeah. Legless is actually the one-legged seagull. It's like the resident seagull down at Raikari, the back beach. Yeah.
Okay.
A few people call him Stumpy. There's a few other names, but yeah, we call him Legless.
My primary school had a one-legged seagull.
Yeah.
But he's got one leg?
One leg, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little, you'll see it on like the Stiff Richards cover and stuff, the little seagull.
I'm thinking the sort of booze side of Legless, but you know.
Yeah, well, there we go, back to names again. Yeah, totally, yeah.
But so then once you started to come up, well, you found your name there. It's obviously to do with where you are on the peninsula. Then you start to, do you reach out to artists to try and see if they want to be a part of it, or it happens reasonably organically with people hitting you up?
It's usually friends. Like most of the releases I've put out have been mates, and it's been chats like at the pub or something like that. We'll be talking about someone's got an album done. I'm like, we'll send it through when you're ready, and I'll see if I've got time. But it is hard. I got a window cleaning business. I got the bands that I'm in as well. So there's only so much I can take on. Yep. So usually most of the releases have been something that like organically feels right. It's something close to home. I do get hit up a bit. There's been a couple that I've actually reached out as well. I think like might not have been getting on record. I know Speed Week, who is actually Ryan from Split System. Mikey had mixed and mastered that. They'd put it out digitally, and he's like, you should hit up these boys. That was one that I actually reached out to, which I was pretty happy to because it's opened up like a whole heap of awesome friends now and a new band. So,
and that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? Making connections and learning and meeting other people that fucking have similar interests and that sort of thing.
But like that, I guess that's the answer. Is like I've never reached out. It's not like a business move. I'm not like putting a record out. It's usually because I like someone or I've seen their band, and I'm like, well, if you want to do it, let's do it.
Yep. Yeah. And so when you say record label, are you handling the distribution stuff and the what do they call it, digital platforms as well as the physical stuff?
Depends what the band wants to do. I try to take it like the least ownership as I can. It's like it's kind of up to the band if they want to put their stuff.
Facilitate for them.
Yeah, if they want to put it out digitally themselves, they can go for it. If they need help with that, I'll do it for them. And I'll usually just press it, do the physical distribution. Yeah.
Who have you been pressing most of the vinyl with? You doing it in Melbourne?
Yeah, Zenith Records and Suitcase Records in Brisbane. I've sort of like switched between the two. Yep. So it's all Australia based. So
Paul at Zenith?
Yep.
I have a reasonably reputable person in the Aussie hip hop scene who sent me Paul's number the other day. He's like, man, you've got to talk to Paul from Zenith.
Yeah.
I messaged him. He never wrote back.
Yeah, they're fucking busy, man.
Yeah, he would be. But man, that is pretty much one of the only places left in Melbourne that still does physical wax.
I think they were the only place in the Southern Hemisphere for a bit.
Wow.
But there's also Program Records in Preston, I think it is.
Yeah, so but that's only recently new.
That's only recent, yeah. So I think Zenith was like the only one, like, in Australia at all.
Do you physically go in there and pick them up and stuff?
Yeah.
Is that a cool process?
Yeah, I love it. I try to still see stores as well. Go in and see the like main stores that have always supported me.
Yep.
But it is hard, like having a kid now as well, like actually finding the time. But yeah, I try to do as much in person as I can.
Yeah. So you go into Zenith, you see the record, because I guess you get to see the color of the fucking vinyl.
Yeah.
That's all part of this whole thing with the physical releases now, isn't it? Like you want to get the weight of the vinyl, the color, all that sort of shit to make sure that everything's fucking spot on.
Well, most of mine now, I've been doing recycled vinyl for the last like year and a half.
Yeah, that's cool.
So the actual color is a little bit of a lucky dip.
Yep.
But I kind of feel better about it. It's like people like color. To be honest, I don't care about color.
Yep.
But it is really hard to sell records in Australia. We've got such a small market and population, and people do like it. Yep. So I do a couple of colors on recycled. Always try to do that, and then a little bit on black.
Yeah.
So I'm not too stressed about what the color is. It's more I just want the record to sound good and be what
I hadn't heard about the recycled. Man, that's really interesting. What is it made out of, like recycled plastic bottles?
It's basically the offcuts and stuff, and then they'll like I think they put it into a granulator, and like a lot of the pressing plants will be separating them into like roughly the same color. Yeah. So you'll get like a red mix, but it'll always be like a little bit like off.
Yeah,
you'll get like a bit of a mishmash.
So it
actually comes up really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you could sort of say, look, we want the recycled mix.
Yeah,
but with a yellowish tinge, and they're like,
well, they'll have like a drum of like a drum of red, but it'll be like all different colors of red, and it might come out a bit mishmash.
Yeah.
Sometimes there'll be a purple that's got a little bit of blue mixed in with it or something. So
makes it more unique.
Totally. Yeah.
Is that from a label perspective? Is that more expensive?
Cheaper.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
it works out because prices are like. And it's not the pressing plant's fault either. Just everything's more expensive these days. So I know even when I started, the difference between price in the last 4 years since I started has dramatically changed. So that's a really hard thing about running a label at the moment as well. Is like they're starting to unfortunately become a bit of a luxury item because prices are just through the roof. And like I don't know. I can't justify like charging $50 for a record. But if you want distribution and everyone's taking a little bit off the top, and in order to grow, the price has to grow as well.
For sure. So, the more middlemen, the more people need their little cut.
Totally.
The thing is, which so many people that I speak to, independent artists within this podcast and just people that I'm fucking friends with, they will press physical records for the sake of doing it with the hope of maybe breaking even. And that's what you do to put your art out there in a fucking physical capacity that you're happy with.
Totally. That's the kind of like approach I have as well. It's like if I love something and I want to do it, I commit to it, and the goal is to pay it off. Once it's paid off, I'm happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's it. I guess with merch and stuff, it's a bit different. You could probably print a few tees for $20 each and sell them for 40. The margin's there. With records, the margin's not really there as much, is it?
Yeah, but it's fun, man. It's like I fucking hate like this digital shit. Like. You have to have stuff on Spotify. That's how you reach audiences and stuff, but it's such a rort. So having something physical and, like, people put a lot of effort into these albums and stuff, and it's nice to have something in your hand.
For sure.
But, yeah, it's hard. It's a juggle. So
I think the majority of fans that are down with smaller artists, bands, whatever, they're happy to support and get that physical product in their hand. And even like what we were talking about earlier, people who buy records that may not even own a turntable.
Yeah.
People are down to support and get that tangible stuff generally, but it's about making that affordable for people as well.
Well, it's blatantly obvious at the moment. I feel like everyone I've spoken to in the music industry, like independent labels are struggling at the moment.
And they don't even have the overheads really as well.
Nah.
They're small.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, like when you're doing smaller pressings, it's super expensive as well. Like it's not until you get up like 500 at least, but up to 1,000 where you start making getting a good price per unit.
Yep.
So small labels, if you're doing 200-300 unit pressings, it's expensive. There's not much markup on those records.
No.
Most of these independent labels are still selling them for in the 30s, and that's cheap.
Yeah. I know some people that have pressed up 50 records, and I'm like, man, is it even worth doing that? Like,
man, they'd probably be paying the same as retail.
That's what I said. But they're just happy to get something physical out there for their core fan base, and they make it small as possible.
Totally.
This is probably something I should talk to Paul from Zenith about, but I'm just interested in the whole process.
Yeah.
If you get a record pressed, do you get to keep the plates or anything? So if you want to repress them, or are they gone?
They're usually at the plant.
Yeah.
So they'll hold on to the mother plates and stuff, and it depends how many you press to whether you need to get. I'm not very technically savvy with this stuff, but I think there's the stampers and then the mother plates as well. So if you press 500 to 1,000, you might wear out the plate and need to get them recut, but they'll still be the mother, I think. So, but you probably have to talk to Paul about that.
It is interesting though, because I know like from a screen printing perspective that if you keep your screens, you could probably go back to that screen printer and be like, we don't have to pay for the setup cost. Because I'd imagine with the records stuff, you would have to then get those plates redone or the mother plates or whatever.
It depends how many you do, definitely.
Whether they're going to hold on to them or not.
So sometimes I'll do a 300 to 500 pressing or something, and if that sells really good pre-sale, you order another press, and it will be cheaper because you don't have to do the setup cost or whatever.
That's the thing. You. And with these little independent stuff, you want to take advantage of all those little price breaks as you can get.
But that's why I use the recycled as well. It's like if I can cut the costs as much as possible to make it affordable for people, I will.
Yeah. And with the packaging and stuff, does that all come with that, or is that a separate sort of cost as well?
No, that's you'll order that all through like Zenith or Suitcase as well. They'll usually set it up. But some labels will get it done, outsource it and shit. But I don't know. It seems like more work to me. I'd rather they're a functioning business as well. They need like money as well. So I just try to do it all through them. Yeah.
And so, because I often think about that with people that have records, and then there's little bits and pieces within the, inserts in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, do you have to get them, put your inserts in them, physically hand write them? Some people do, and
Yeah.
then heat shrink them or fucking however it works.
Well, usually they'll do all the packing. It'll be finished package. You'll be picking it up.
Yeah.
But sometimes like we'll do like, I know there's a new split system 7-inch coming out next year, and we're going to print off like a double-sided cheap A4 slip.
Yep.
Just on a normal printer, do a nice cheapie.
Yeah.
But
Nice
like,
cheapie.
yeah, we did one last year as well. I wish we never did it, but we got all blank covers and I got stamps done.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a great idea, and then I didn't realise that the ink doesn't actually soak into the cover, so I had to like clear coat 500 records, hand stamp and clear coat 500 records. So I stitched myself up.
You should have got like the recycled raw sort of. It would have soaked into that.
I wish you had told me. I got the white coated stuff, and I was like doing a few of them, and then I pick them up the next day. I was like, "Fuck, these are smudging."
You got to get a hairdryer out.
I think there's a few people with smudged ones as well.
But that makes it more unique.
Yeah, totally.
Man, and that's the really cool thing about the independent stuff is you get those little quirky things.
Yeah.
And at the end, you can't think about the future, but you hope one day that people will hold on to that stuff and be like, this one's cool.
Yeah.
I got this one, which is different to the fucking rest.
Yeah. That's why it's really important to support independent stuff as well. It's usually some dude in a garage or woman, but like some person in a garage or something like that doing it independently and doing these interesting things, putting blood, sweat and tears into actually making it work and probably not making much money. So they're the important things to actually support. Like,
for sure. Yeah. I think in this day and age,
it's not just mass-produced shit. Like,
and that's part of the DIY culture that comes into, small labels. And that's what makes it really cool. But I think in this day and age, man, it's hard enough to get people to give you their attention. Yeah. That's all we want to start with.
Yeah.
From any project, you want to get people's attention. Then from that, you could then potentially turn them into people who are fans who purchase your stuff.
Yeah.
But first, all you want is them to listen or to watch.
Totally.
That's it. That's the hard part as well.
But it's also just like, I don't know, there's so much shit produced these days. It's like, it's just nice that there's something interesting still happening. Like people are producing stuff purely just to sell. And it's like a lot of these labels and stuff, it's actual real people playing real music. And it's like, well, I don't know. I feel like it's a dying thing, and it's like it's important to keep that stuff going.
Yeah. Not only from a recording aspect, but also from a live aspect, man, because the venues aren't there as much as they were.
Nah.
We had one, that we won't even really get into that was down here, didn't fucking last very long, and for all the wrong, probably did it all in the wrong way.
Yeah, it's just like concerning which like direction we're heading in. It's just like fuck, like I don't know that I don't know what venue you're talking about, but it's yeah, I think I do. But like it's the same thing. It's like some of the venues, like as daggy as they were ours. They were our communities, like little venues, and we could go there and put a gig on and feel like it was our place. And then people come in with money and turn them over and turn them into a sterile fucking like place that like there's no community ownership of it. You know what I mean? Like
I know.
And it just deteriorates any culture or any sense of like something interesting. Like,
but we're faced in it. It's in a very tough situation where obviously businesses are businesses to make money.
Yeah.
And then when people aren't spending money, they're not making money. They can't afford to pay the overheads. And
yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So luckily, there's people like Stu with Singing Bird and a lot of other people that are really putting not to say that he's running at a loss, but he puts the art and the culture ahead of the fucking money.
Oh, he puts everything. Yeah.
And we need more of that shit.
Totally, but it's hard. That's the thing. That's why it's like really important to support it.
And that's where the government grants need to come into it more.
Oh, I know, and you know who's getting the government grants? It's
man.
wrong people.
There's
so many hoops to jump through as well for these things, man. Like it's crazy that like they need to make these things more accessible to the average person, because most of the people that really need those grants are people that don't know their way around it.
That's the sad thing.
It is. It's not accessible to the people that need it.
Do you know who gets the grants? The people that are best at writing the grant applications.
Yeah, or that can pay someone to do it for them. It is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I've seen it down here as well. We were talking about venues down here. There's been a few, and I'm not going to name names, but there's a few people that have been helped out to get grants, and they don't need it. They don't need money, and they don't even put it to what they got the grant for, like independent local music. They'll renovate their place and schnazz it up and still just supply for the holidays. Yeah, it's fucked. Yeah.
I think it's not just in music and art I think it's just in the community in general, the people that generally get that money is people that might be involved. Kickbacks, it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's just sadly how things have worked.
Yeah.
And I'd love to overhaul that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I've
spoken to people at the council as well, just trying to, I don't know, I feel like people don't listen as well, but I'm like, they had a big amount of money to give to local music and shit. And I was like, make a bunch of really easily accessible $2,000 grants, small ones, just for local artists to go in. And it's a really easy application process. It's better than having like this exuberant amount of money to throw at something what no one can access. It's like, I don't know, man. Yeah,
and that's the thing. No one does know, but we do know that it's not working.
It's not working. Yeah, it's not accessible to the people that need it, and it's usually the way of the world as well.
Yeah,
like
the people that are the best at doing their admin are the people that get these handouts, and those people are generally the people that don't need it.
Yeah,
and the fucking cycle continues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's sad.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better.
No, but man, it gets to me as somebody who loves that sort of stuff. I love live music, but I also, love my hip hop stuff and even DJs playing recorded music and that. But that's something that's sort of dying as well because it just doesn't. There isn't really an avenue for that sort of shit anymore.
Yeah.
You look at somewhere like a very prominent place in St Kilda, which was known for doing live music and sort of letting anybody do their thing. Now, that band room has mostly cover bands.
Totally, yeah.
And that's it. And people are like, oh, but at least it's still there. I'm like, yeah, at least it is still there.
Yeah, but is it? Like,
yeah. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, totally.
At the end of the day, it was probably going to be apartments, and the only way it can exist as a hospitality venue is the way that it exists now.
Yeah. Because
financially, that's the only way it works.
Yeah, yeah.
But who wants to go and see a fucking Fleetwood Mac cover band there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is that?
But again, it's just like catering to, it's like down here, man. It's like catering to tourism, and like if you sell alcohol and food on the peninsula through summer, you're gonna make money. And it's just like as many people through the door. It's not something genuinely interesting. It's not like.
But that's the whole catch down here. I think looking at it as someone who's come from somewhat of a hospitality background to looking at how it works down here, you would have to, and we're talking, when I say down here, I'm talking anything past, say, Frankston, right?
Yeah.
You would have to make enough money in 4 months to sort
supply
of
for the rest of the year.
Suck a dick for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
That's the only way to make it work, really.
Yeah.
Unless you are fucking amazing at what you do.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even with the growth of population down here, it's just like I don't see how that's gonna.
But it's like unaffordable for anyone to even have a crack. Like even just getting a lease on a building and having a crack at something interesting is so. Like we saw things like Mooner Arts pop up for a bit, and people try. There's things like Ninja Fest, like festival, but it's just like so many fucking loops that you have to like jump through. There's so much money that goes into stuff.
Yep.
Like it. And people are getting defeated. Like there's not even the attempt to start anymore, and the few people that do attempt, it's like by the end of 4 years or 2-3 years of trying something, most people are exhausted. Yeah.
And that's where the government or the councils in specific areas could come to the party more and be like, hey, this is hard. We understand that.
Yeah.
We'll cover the public liability, which is probably one of your biggest overheads.
Yeah,
right? And one of the biggest hidden costs of running some sort of event.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of you doing something culturally.
Yeah.
The grant money would be better spent doing that.
Yeah.
Come to see us to get free public liability.
Yeah.
And
totally.
then you're worried about putting the fucking gig on.
Yeah. Well, it's even like trying to rent a town hall or something like that. If you want to put a gig on, you usually got to set up the night before, and then you got to clean up. So that'll probably be the next day. You got to rent it for 3 days, have like a fire plan, all this stuff. It's like it is expensive. It's not just the 1 day of rental. Yeah. And it's like they could do little things like, if you want it for the day and it's not hired out for the other days, we'll give you the 2 days either side to set up and pack down for free. Yeah. Or just like, I don't know, like.
Yeah, there needs to be.
Because you're not essentially using it for the event that day, and it just sits empty anyway.
Common sense doesn't prevail in these scenarios. That's the sad thing.
Yeah.
Like venues like that, and I don't know.
But most halls just like sit empty for most of the year.
That's what I mean.
It's like what would you rather? Like, it's a town hall. It's supposed to be used.
Yeah.
Like, help some people out. Like, I don't know.
I went to the Rosebud Town Hall gig. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
With Smith Street Band, and I don't know what happened, but they couldn't serve booze, so they said just bring your own booze in from the bottle shop.
Yeah.
And I guess that's because they didn't get a liquor license. But then I was like, man, how good's this? We're just here drinking beers from the bottle shop.
Yeah.
And I guess that's because somebody didn't tick the box or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Kind of turned out to be cool, though.
Yeah.
Those sort of things happen. They're little happy accidents, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah,
but it's not. It should be more often.
Well, you think so?
Totally.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some sort of initiative where they say the gig's free as long as you come and show your receipt that you went and had dinner at a local restaurant and spent over $150.
Yeah, but just like anything, it's like me and you are sitting here like thinking of things, but like it's not even our job. You know what I mean? Like there's people that like this is their job. Like come on, like use your brain. Yeah,
that's
you're supposed to be there for the community. Yeah.
I've got some friends in the art sort of scene, and they're trying to sort of go for these grants, and they just say the same thing. The grants go to the same sort of people.
Yeah,
that's the day and age we're in.
And also like insurances and shit like that.
That's
just
the
like
thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And that's what a lot of people don't realise from that don't have the hospitality background. They're like, oh, yeah, just open this up, just do this. You're like, there is so much that goes into a venue before you even get to before you even think about what you're going to offer as far as entertainment goes.
Yeah.
So much shit.
Yeah.
We're not going to solve it, man.
I don't think so.
but it helps to start the dialogue with this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
It's yeah, because I feel like being real negative right now, but it's like no, but it is grim. Like that's the thing. Like I've got so many friends and so many people that have really had a crack over the last few years, especially after COVID. Like I feel like people had a lot of energy to put into it, and I'm feeling like a real dip around me with everybody. It's like everyone had a real big crack at trying to do some interesting stuff over the last couple of years, and people are tired, and it is hard, and it's like. It is a bit negative, but it's like it's really important for people to come together right now and support small businesses, independent music scene, or whatever it may be around you, because I think there's a lot of people dropping off at the moment and struggling.
And that leads into a very boring society where there is no art and people just do boring fucking shit.
Yeah, and the ability for people to actually come out of that back to where we were is even harder. Because once you've lost it, it's a fucking big climb back.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I really want to get my point across to people is like, even if you don't go to gigs, jump on Instagram, click a link and buy their merch, support them, buy their records, do that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So these artists can get something back and keep doing it. Otherwise, we'll all be stuck getting our music from fucking one source and buying all our clothes from Kmart.
But it can be simple as like, I know people are struggling at the moment. That's like one thing is like a lot of people can't afford a lot of shit, but it's like cancel your fucking Spotify subscription and your Netflix subscription and go see a fucking live gig for $20. Like it's like even just once a month, it's like there's so many little things just ticking away at our bank accounts these days, and it's like a change of perspective a little bit, and it's like, put your money into something that's actually worth it. Even just one gig a month and buy a T-shirt at the gig that if the band blew you away, buy the T-shirt. Yep. And it's like, but fuck Spotify. It's like you can source music like
in other ways.
Yeah.
Speaking of Spotify, just like I know that there's not really any money for artists in it, and you look like I think. The Stiffies, I had a look, you were almost 400,000 streams a month, right?
Yeah, so I think it's like 240 monthly listeners or something like that,
240,000.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I thought it was a bit more, but yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I think
And does that equate to anything for the artist?
But like, that's an exuberant amount of like, we were pretty impressed with ourselves. Like, that's a lot. Like, and we get a bit of money now, but it's not much. No. It's like... we've sort of jumped up to where like, oh, it's nice like pocket change at the end of the quarter. We get a payout and like, oh, cool. But it's like for that amount of monthly listeners and the amount of plays that we've got, it's dismal. Yeah.
And that's the I guess the internet changes a lot of things. And with music, it changed, like Spotify changed music forever, whether we like it or not. It has.
Yeah.
It's about using that to build your audience. We can complain about it. They've got a stronghold on it. There's not much we can do.
Yeah.
But it's like getting those people that maybe they're not going to be picking up your physical copies. So you've got to use that to your advantage, then turn them into fans for touring or turn them into people who buy your merch. That's the next step in the game, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I still use Spotify because I'm like heavily involved in music. So it's like, there is it is a tool. It's good for finding new music and I guess it is the central point of things. But my main concern is when people stop buying records or actually paying for tickets to go to shows and they're still paying for Spotify. It can be like a good tool, but it's just concerning because the other thing's dropping off and it
should be the other way around.
It should be the other way around. It's like I'm not against anything. Like technology is going to keep going. It's like Instagram as well. It's like I fucking hate it, but like it's the way to reach an audience. Yeah. I got 7 Instagrams, like so every band and the label and my own one. It's like, it's just but yeah, these apps are not doing anything for your music scene. If you can afford it and you enjoy it and you listen to it at work and stuff like that, but I think it's just a matter of like moving, being conscious of the fact that the thing that you like on Spotify is getting sapped by Spotify and might not exist anymore if you keep supporting that and not the other one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I guess
it's all well and good, but what happens when small bands are no longer able to make money?
Yeah. I guess the positive of something like a platform like Spotify is that some band or someone in your niche that's a lot bigger can add you to a playlist and that opens you to a wider audience.
Yeah.
Like that sort of stuff's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing if your monthly streams are a lot higher than you anticipated, that's potentially because someone's put you on a playlist.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. It's good. I shouldn't be negative about stuff. It is really good for accessing people, but I should be focusing more on the positive of supporting. Yeah, it's hard, man. Yeah. I just get concerned that these things are just gonna keep growing and it's gonna sap the life out of the thing that we really care about. And I think there's a happy medium there that we need to find. So it's not fuck one and do the other, but it's
But this sort of evolution in music has been happening since music's been recorded.
Yeah.
You know, you have your LimeWire time, then you have your iTunes.
Totally.
It can't exist with iTunes. Music's still being
made.
Like
a podcast like this, I'm assuming you're on Spotify and stuff, and this actually creates a narrative on that platform for us to discuss that and the problems there. And
they might flag it because we're hating on them now.
Oh, really?
No,
no, but you know what I mean? There is benefits for that, and it's accessing an audience and being able to have those dialogues and stuff. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that with music, it goes through a lot of different. The recorded music, since it's been made, something comes along that is a problem. Whether it's piracy, whether it's the internet. People thought when you could get tapes coming out, physical tape decks, that that's gonna ruin music because people dub tapes and give them to their friends.
Yeah.
Music survives.
Yeah. Music will always survive. Yeah.
Yeah. That sort of issue was happening in the late 70s, early 80s. People thought dubbing tapes will ruin music forever. Well, it didn't. And if you ask a lot of people, they go mixtapes. That's what music's all about.
Yeah.
So music moves on and it figures out a way. Yeah. We just happen to live in this fucking Spotify era where we don't really know where it goes.
I think my thing is more I guess where I was getting at is if people are struggling to afford to go to shows and stuff like that, is be conscious of what's sapping money out of your account as well. I've done it before where I'm you're feeling tight and then you're fuck, I've got Netflix, Stan, Spotify, 4 different subscriptions. You look at that over a year and it's I'd rather go spend my money, buy a beer at a bar, see a band and buy the record and take that home. And it's I think that's the point that I'm making is if you're feeling the squeeze is you take a step back and see where your money's actually going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
And it's not it's not a massive hate on all these things can be tools and music will prevail, but things are slow at the moment and businesses are slow. So I just try to shift my brain into happy supporting small businesses. Put my money there instead of going to fucking Woolworths or something. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And like, you'll never remember that time you watched Netflix one week, but you'll remember that gig you went to.
That awesome gig you went to, and you met someone, you've had a beer, you've done
You got the T-shirt.
It's an experience. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It is. It is also hard. Like when you say like the big business stuff, like down here especially.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of independent options for certain things.
Yeah.
We only have big chains of some sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's it. We're kind of fucking over a barrel when it comes to that sort of thing. Which sucks.
Or
man.
it becomes like what's happening with records and stuff. Things become luxury items, and the people that can afford it are only the people that have money.
Yeah.
And that's like what's happening now with like a lot of music stuff is like tickets are getting more expensive, records are getting more expensive because it's just growing. But it's like, no, like, is it going to get to a point where people can't afford to buy records anymore? And it's like people will probably end up going back to tapes again. I think a lot of people are doing that at the moment as well.
Which is cool.
Which is cool. I love that too. But
I was having a chat with someone yesterday who said that they've just started buying tapes for their nostalgic value.
Yeah.
And he's like, man,
I actually think tapes they're like one of the best formats to listen to stuff on.
He was saying it as well. He's like, man, I thought it was just going to sound so crap, but he goes, no, it sounds good. As long as you've got a good cassette player, it's going to sound great.
Yeah.
Bring back the tapes.
Fuck yeah. They're cheap as well. Maybe that's where we're going.
From a label perspective, are they cheaper to press?
Oh, 100%.
Right.
100%, yeah. And there's people doing them a lot more now as well.
Right. So
yeah.
What about CDs?
CDs, I've got no idea. I've never even looked into that. So.
That hasn't come around from a retro perspective yet?
Not sure. I'm super not savvy with stuff. I only keep up with what, like, I've only got a certain amount of stuff that I can hold in my brain. I'm already at capacity.
It's coming out your ears. Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Back.
Yeah. Got a beer?
We have a new beer.
Yep.
New beer.
Perfect.
So, what should we talk about first? Should we talk about split system or should we talk about the Stiffies sort of Euro tour?
Whatever you want.
All right. So, how does split system come about? That's your. If you had to rank them, is that your second? I
don't rank them. It's definitely the band that I'm probably putting the most focus into at the moment.
Okay.
Stiffies has had like a really good run over the last like few years, but we've got like families and stuff, and our capacity to play more has like definitely been like reduced a bit. Mm-hmm. So split system, I sort of, my energy goes into what's feeling the best at the time and what's being productive. So split systems had the capacity to write new music, get stuff out, and tour a bit more. So.
And on a timeline, when did you form that band compared to Stiffies?
Well, Stiffies was prior Lockdowns and prior Legless.
Yep.
And then I'd put out Jackson Redriguez's album, who's a singer in Split System, and also Speed Week, who is the other guitarist in Split System. And coming to the end of COVID lockdowns, Jackson hit me up and he's like, "I'm going to start another band." Got in a room with Jackson, Ryan, and Dion, who's a bass player. Jackson was actually on drums. We just like threw a bunch of songs at the wall and figure out what sticked. And there was a few songs that worked well. And we're like, let's get a drummer. Jackson wanted to sing. Mitchie came in for the next jam, and that was the first 7-inch. It all worked. We just went around in a circle, and
that was it.
Yeah, we had a few songs in the back pocket, and that was the first 7-inch. It was one jam, and
That's like not overthinking it at all. That's just putting it out
I
there.
think everything I do is not thought about too much. So.
I love asking all the musicians that come on this show the same sort of question. My nan is 86 years old. How would you explain the split system to her?
Five mates playing music as hard and fast as they can.
Okay. Yeah. Hard and fast.
Hard and as fast as they can. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'll put that to Nan.
Yeah.
What she says.
Yeah. We're just having fun, man.
Yeah.
Go. Oh, I was just saying, it's the same approach as that first couple of jams. Mm-hmm. We get together and everyone will have some ideas and we hear them out and see what works.
Yeah, as a dude who's not overly musical and never been in a band, it seems to be that you just need to get the people that are on the same page for it to fucking work.
Especially if like none of us are. Well, no, I shouldn't discredit but we're not like professional musicians. We've got a certain style and a thing that works for us, and it's similar to Stiffies. It's like energy, and when 5 people come together and play something and it works and the energy's right, that's sort of how we approach it, because none of us are freaks at our instruments.
Yeah.
So I think that's what works for us. So.
But when you say you're not a professional musician, you still tour and you still know how to play. But is that all just up here? You couldn't visually.
It's just 5 people working together. That's what kind of motivates us as well. It's 5 friends having fun and being able to engage a crowd and give someone a good time. And that's what most of my bands are. It's friends making music. It's something honest, and don't try to polish it too much. Make something feel good, and I think that translates to the crowd as well. Instead of marketing something or creating an image, it's more an exchange.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you make a crowd feel good, we end up playing better. We get better at our craft, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is something that definitely post-COVID you get to interact with the band, with the fans, with the audience.
Yeah.
Because it seems like that sort of music might be great in a jam room, but it's probably most naturally needs to be played in front of an audience.
Totally. But we have so much fun jamming as well, jamming and writing. It's very open, very easy. And I think because we don't have like a set sound that we're going for, it is, it is fun. We try everybody's songs. We don't have like a clear path of where we're going for, like heading towards. So each album is sort of reflective of how we are in the rehearsal space.
So with Split System, you've done a little bit more touring than the Stiffies.
Yeah.
So tell us about the first. So in Australia and overseas.
Yes, definitely. I think it was more of a case of like, because that band, everyone had their other bands and everyone had a similar situation where it was like the bands that were already in maybe were at the end of end of a run of like playing a bunch of shows, and the capacity to do more was reduced. So we had 5 members that were like sort of fresh and ready to go, and so we sort of skipped a lot of the like early stages of a band and went straight into getting busy, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
everyone was just keen and ready at the right time, so
yeah, and you've just come back from a European tour. No,
we came back from Stiffies.
No, I'm doing a Split System.
Oh, Split System, yeah.
Where'd you come back from?
Recently?
Yeah.
America, yeah.
An American tour. Stiffies, you went to Europe. So tell us about that US tour that you just got back from with the Split System.
That was fun. It was hard work, though. Very hard work. Played with a bunch of really good bands.
Tell us who they are.
Well, some of the highlights, Puffer from Montreal blew us away. Really good crew as well. Class from Arizona. Ingrates in LA were really good. We stayed with Wesley and the boys in Nashville and played about 3 shows with those guys. Amazing.
Nashville cool?
Nashville was, it wasn't bad, but we were there on a Monday. So we had a really good time there. We hung out with those guys, stayed at their house and like hung out, but it was a Monday night. And so it was like it was very chill.
Always going off. Like there's always music happening.
Yeah, it's like, it was pretty funny though. Like I can't remember what the, Broadway is like the main street, but like it's kind of become a parody of itself a little bit.
Okay.
Like, so all the bars have got like there's like the Willie Nelson bar and like the country music bars, and there's heaps of those, like, what do they call it over there? Like a hen's night. It's kind of like Cavalav of Nashville.
But then you've got to use the New York term, off-Broadway. That's got the next street. Is that
totally? Yeah. But I guess like Nashville, we were there on a Monday and it was really fun. But like we basically just hung out. We'd just come off a Goner Fest and we went out for dinner. We went to a couple of good burger joints and taco joints and it was chill. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so then that tour, the US tour. So, and you're just in the US. You didn't go to Canada or anything, but you're playing with Canadian bands.
We played, Puffer came down for like a run of like 3 or 4 or 3 shows with us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that galvanize you guys as a unit traveling overseas like that to do a big tour like that? It's different to playing.
Oh yeah, it's hard work. It definitely like tests your test everything. Being on top of each other, I think, especially me, like I got a big personality. I got to check myself every now and then, just like be respectful of each other and give each other space. But you end up, it's a good test of friendship and stuff. Like you're on top of each other every day, playing every day, driving 5 to 6 hours. But you come out of it like with amazing friendship. You sort of do something that not a lot of people are sort of under that pressure very often in life. So
yeah. And when you come, you guys obviously generally write in the jam sort of room, but does anything get written on tour like that? Not even ideas. You say to Oi Mawson, this is a bit of an idea.
Honestly, like we're all rat bags, and it's like, and that energy that we sort of like bring each night, you don't have any capacity to do anything other than be present doing what you're doing. You're pretty tired at the end of it. Like last year, Split System went to Europe and we did like 30 shows in 29 days, and it was just like it's like a vortex. Yeah.
That's a whirlwind, man.
It's a whirlwind, man. So like on tour, there's not much creative stuff going on. It's interacting with people, playing shows. Yeah, a lot of beers. So yeah, it's sort of like you've got a mission and you're heading for the end of the tour. Like
30 shows in 29 days?
Yeah.
So you've done two shows in one day.
Yeah, I think at the end, maybe it was 29. We played Get Lost at the end, which was in Hamburg, and we played on a boat the next morning. So maybe it was 30. It was around 29 shows, something like that. So, it was chaos.
Boat show to...
Yeah, right at the end. Yeah. It was through the Hamburg harbour. There was like 100 so people on a barge. It was insane.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like the pinnacle of your trip, and that's like the grand final. You're like, yeah, and we just got to finish off with a barge boat fucking party.
Especially Get Lost Fest as well. That like Hamburg's like a lawless city. It's
really?
Yeah, it's insane.
Yep.
It's like being in a time walk to like another time. Yeah.
Are they in... I've been to Europe reasonably recently, but I haven't been to the US for 15 years almost.
Yeah.
Does the Aussie thing still go a long way? Are people like, oh, you're from Australia, that's cool? Or
hugely, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there's a massive spotlight on Australian music at the moment as well, which is nice.
Okay.
Because a lot of our friends, like independent bands, are actually doing really well overseas.
Yeah.
So,
people are like, these guys are from Australia, we're going to listen, we're going to give them the time of day.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of us are pretty easy to get along with as well. A lot of Aussies are pretty down to party and have a good time, pretty appreciative to be there and stuff. So nearly everyone I spoke to that's been going on tour, a lot of friends bands have been getting like really good responses overseas at the moment.
Yeah, and you build some network sort of, when you're doing that, you meet other bands and other people. Next time you tour, you might get on a fucking lineup with those guys, and you sort of build the whole
100%.
thing. Yeah.
Or like even just friends, like through a few friends going overseas, then your network will share those things that your mates have like benefited from. So they'll go over and tour with the same crew or like some other bands or some of the similar spots, and through association they have a good tour as well.
Yeah. I talk about this all the time. Like, man, networking is such a cringy word, but when you just are a good person, and someone that's down to have fun, it happens so naturally and organically.
Well, I actually reckon like network, depending on how you look at it, but I think networking is like community-based networking is the best way to approach things anyway. It's like community support or something. Like we noticed it in Europe, like you go over there and just because of who you're friends with or who you've played with, you'll have a great response from people that haven't not necessarily even seen your band. Just because they trust the people that are putting it on or the crew that you're associated with.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important thing in this, especially independent music scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got to be cool to get out there and just do gigs in front of different audiences and get out of your hometown as well.
Oh, it's the best. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Seeing people on the other side of the world respond to your music must be pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
So with Split, so what's next for Split System? What's out of your two major projects? Sorry, we're not ranking them. Out of those two projects we've spoken about, who's got something coming out next?
Well, like Stiff Richards has always got music. So Stiffies have got I reckon we've got 20 songs sitting there, but it's just a matter of getting us all together and finishing stuff off. Gaz has also got cutters and stuff who have just done an album this year. So as I said, Split System is kind of my main focus at the moment. We've got a couple of 7-inches recorded. We're going to Europe next year. We've got a split 7-inch with a European band that'll be coming out next year, and then we'll go do the tour over there with them for half of it. So that'll be fun. I've got another band with some good mates from down here that's got some stuff sort of half album recorded at the moment. But I don't know, the focus just sort of drifts between whatever's sort of feeling fresh and whoever's got time at the moment.
Yeah. Taking the Stiffies to Europe, that'll be fun.
Yeah, the first tour was insane, and we'd really like to do it again, but it's just I got a 4-month-old baby at home. Gazza, guitarist, has got a I think 6 and 3-year-old. Rafi's got a 7 and 11-year-old. So it's we need to time it well for everybody and make sure it works for all the families and stuff. So,
does a lot of the logistical stuff fall onto you, or who's handling that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I've sort of done that a lot in the past, but I've definitely like recently started feeling the squeeze with that. So that's why I've definitely narrowed down my focus into whatever's being productive at the time, because I don't have the same capacity as I had like maybe 6 to 12 months ago to sort of do a bit of everything. Yeah, I'm learning a lot at the moment. It's just prioritizing, I guess. Yeah.
And having kids changes everyone's life.
Yeah.
And I guess with music stuff, you still love that, you still want to do it.
Yeah.
But you think, is it fair on my family to just take off for 6 months of the year? Like that's what happens to a lot of people musically, you know?
But it's even just like for my own energy. Like recently, I feel like I've come to like the end of like a bit of a run of having like what seemed like endless amounts of energy to be able to put into stuff. And I'm like, I actually want to hang out with my partner and my kid and feel good. And I don't want my music to be something that's burning me out. So I've like retracted from a lot of it, and I'm going to start like slowly adding things back in and focus on the things that feel good.
Yeah. So, and that is the beauty of doing things yourself, having your own label and being creatively in control.
Yeah.
You can just do it as you want to do it.
Yeah.
Make your money in other aspects, and then just focus on your art and your passion.
Yeah. But like, I just want it to feel good and always be like what it has always been is like a good, fun release. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, there's been so much stuff on over the last few years that it's like, yeah.
You talked about the Moona Arts Collective earlier.
Yep.
Do you want to break down that? Because it's no longer a thing down here, but it was for a while. Do you
want to tell people
a little bit about that?
It was amazing. It was friends Rennie and Redro rented a factory. It was like a small shed next to a scuba shop. And Redro set up like a small studio, and there was like a little live, it was kind of not even a live music space. It was like a roller door and just like a lounge room area, kind of factory space with carpet.
Just a comfortable.
And they just chucked gigs there, and then they helped bands record and stuff. It was just sort of like a space that people could use. You could go rehearse there and stuff. But like we were talking about before, it's hard to keep things rolling. It takes a lot of effort, and there's also pushback with noise, like being able to like acoustically soundproof something like that's a pretty big feat. Like no one has the money to sort of pour into it. Yeah. So it lasted for a bit, but
there's so many factors in that sort of stuff. Like when you have something that's community minded, obviously the secondary thought is, well, how do we pay for it? You know? And when there's no funding, then it's pretty much fucking too hard.
Totally. But like before, like there's the positives and negatives, but the positive of that is that I remember that as like a really awesome little period. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I think those guys just did it because it was something good to do. And I don't think there was like a grand plan. It was like, let's just do it because it's the right thing to do right now and see where it goes. And it was a beautiful couple of years of it actually happening. And then, it sort of got squeezed out a little bit, but I'll try to remember it for the positives.
It existed, and it was
and it was awesome when it did.
Last forever.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of things don't last forever. So
nothing lasts forever.
Yeah. But it was fucking awesome. There was some really good shows there.
Yeah. And you mentioned Redro. So he's someone who's sadly passed.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah, earlier this year. I think it was like April. Yeah.
And he was obviously a big part of the music community down here as well, man.
Yeah.
So it's a huge loss.
Yeah. It's pretty again, like it's. I haven't even sort of come down off like some of the, like those things, like. But I always try to remember him for like the beautiful things that he did, and it's like it is a huge loss, but there's great memories there that'll be stuck in my like brain and my heart forever. So, I don't know. Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah, and I didn't know him personally, but I know a lot of people that did know him down here and that have been generally affected by his passing. And that, I guess, is a testament to how much he meant to the community and to the music community and the artistic community.
But we got to share a lot of good things with him, and I think that's what I try to like focus on. It's like with any loss, even like talking about Moona, that like everything comes to an end. And it's, trying to reflect back on the positive things that you did get to experience together. Like I think I think the last thing last album that Stiff Richards did, Redro recorded at Mooner Arts.
Yep.
So
That's
we got to
And if people did want to check out, like, there is a doco that Woodsy has put out.
Yep.
That's on YouTube.
Which is brilliant. Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So I'll put a link to that in this YouTube thing as well, so people can check that out as well.
Yep.
But some people I know that aren't even from the musical side of the creative part of the peninsula just talk about how much he was a huge part of the community as well, man.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Down here, it's a small community, and I've only just recently, in the last year or so, moved down here.
Yeah.
But it is like, people, when they do go, they leave a big void because there's not a lot happening down here, like, creatively.
Yeah, well, but in saying that, there kind of is, and I think that's why Redro was such a big loss, because there is a lot of creative people down here, and there's a massive music community, but there's not a lot of access to be able to do it. And Redro was one of those people that tried to facilitate that with things like Mooner, helping people to record. But there is a huge community, and we're struggling with outlets to do that thing. And someone like him disappearing is like removing another one of those outlets or connections to the greater scene. Because we don't have any reliable venues. We don't have any, but we do have a huge art scene down here. And I think that's the sad thing is, like, there is a lot of people striving for it, a lot of talented people.
They just make it too hard, though.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a space here. If I all of a sudden wanted to roll the door open, have some bands, they just make it too hard. They just go, no, you've got to have toilet facilities, you've got to have, which makes sense, but it is hard for anyone just to have a crack,
But yeah, he was a facilitator, and it's like, I think that's the thing. It's not like there's nothing going on down here. It's just hard for people to do it, and someone like him disappearing, and it's like, they're beautiful people, a part of our quite large music community that leaves a big hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully there'll be something similar to what with the Mooner Arts Collective will pop up soon, man.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's something that the council and the community get behind a bit more. So
Yeah.
it's not just put on to be self-funded. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there needs to be some funding come from somewhere so those places can fucking exist.
I think, like, through dips, it always, like, creates a fire in people's belly as well. Like, at the moment, I feel like we're having, like, a real dip down here with not many things accessible. But then usually someone will pop up and have a crack. Like, recently there was that Pigs with Lips. Was it Pigs in Lipstick up at the Pig and Whistle that buddies Darcy and Tom put on, and that was like, I think, 350 people and a bunch of local bands. So there's people, like, having a crack at doing stuff.
Yeah.
They had a really successful weekend. So
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bands at that.
Yeah, like, it's like people will do stuff. It's just, it is hard, but yeah.
If you build it, they will come.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. We just need to build it.
Yeah. Totally.
You're talking about, we spoke a lot about music and art and making money out of art. But one way that you can make money potentially from art is sort of licensing your music. And you've dabbled into that a little bit with music on commercials and that sort of thing?
A little bit. It hasn't been something that's been like a conscious effort. We've just been lucky enough to have friends in advertising that have been able to steer the ship to put our songs on it.
Yeah.
Which has been really helpful. Like, we were on a Suzuki ad over the last, 5-6 years. It was on a Suzuki ad, which is epic.
Yeah, that's huge. Do the royalties roll in one chunk, or is
it's usually like a yearly payment and stuff?
If they continue the ad the next 12 months,
yeah,
then
it'll roll on. And it's like a yearly license or whatever. But, like, we got offered a sports bet ad at one time, and it's like, I don't know, like, I was like, there's no fucking way I'm being on a gambling ad. So it's like, the Suzuki thing was fun, and I was like, but advertising's a weird thing. You can make a lot of money, but then I'm like also a little bit on the fence with it. It depends if it feels right. So
yeah. I can totally understand that. I guess the positive, and this is coming from someone who doesn't make music, but they're using your music that you've already made.
Yeah.
It's different if they say, hey, can you and the band stand there and sing a song for us?
Yeah.
Going, sports bet? Yeah. Like, that's shit house.
Yeah. But we didn't accept the sports bet ad,
for sure,
even for the old one, old music. And it's like even if there was something fun, even if they wanted us to stand there and do something for something that felt right, then, like, I'm not against that either. But it's like anything. It's like,
It's got to feel right.
It's got to feel right, yeah. And if you can use it, like everyone needs money, and it's like, well, like, yeah, you want to pay us to be on a Suzuki ad, and it was a sick ad. It was like really funny. So I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And you give us some money, we'll put a song on there. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I think that from a way of making money from your art, I think that's one of the better ones. As long as it's a brand that you're sort of happy to be associated with, that's an easier one because your art's been made, you've made it, you've put it out there in this capacity. Yeah. That also might help drive up your streams because people hear that song on the thing. Yeah. So the whole cycle works.
Or even just putting money to being able to do a second album or a third album or something as a band. Like you can definitely utilize that stuff. I think like Split System got a sync thing over in America. I can't remember what it was for. It was like an ad for a bar or something like that. And so like I'm definitely not against it if someone wants to throw money at something.
Yeah.
But yeah. Only if it feels right. Yeah. Advertising's a weird world. I don't want to get too negative again. Let's not go down that fast too much. But yeah.
No, it's a crazy. You should check out the episode I did with Kyle McGee on this show, man. The guy, he hates advertising so much that he's defaced so many billboards to the point that he's.
I think I've seen this guy's Instagram. Yeah.
And he did 7 months. In jail.
He's a really articulate dude that he's got the videos, the crew coming up to him. Yeah.
He is so passionate about it.
Good on him.
That he just believes that shouldn't be in your face.
It shouldn't be. I agree with him wholeheartedly. It's fucked.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people agree.
Yeah.
But he did the same billboard, I think, 21 days in a row until they were waiting there for him. Arrested him. Then he did 70 days or 52 days or something in the remand centre with other dudes, and they're in. This is before you get like fucking
into jail.
And they're like, "What did you do?" He goes, "Oh, deface billboards." He goes, "The other guys couldn't understand." They're like, "So what do you write?" He goes, "I don't write anything. I just paint
fucking brilliant though. I love that shit. That is awesome. It's commitment. Yeah, fucking good on him.
Yeah. But and that's the thing with advertising. It's always going to be there, and it creeps in now in different ways. But also from monetizing your music, I know there's people now that make money off somebody using their song as a trending sound.
Yeah.
And that's something you can't even really like angle.
Well, it's like I think that's happened heaps with like TikTok and stuff.
For sure.
It's a realm that like I haven't gone down
But I don't think you can. I think that's just accidents that happen.
Yeah. My thing is like I've seen money and the pursuit of money deteriorate a lot of like good things. So I try to think about that the least. Like we were talking about before, if like we can pay something off and be in front or at least even with the things that we've put a bunch of time into, fucking brilliant. If we make a bit of money, that's great. But sometimes the pursuit of money, it's even happened like Stiffies have been dangled money for like Europe tours and stuff like that. And it's it puts a lot of pressure on like a band. And at the end of the day, it's like family first and what feels right for the band. And I think that's a really important approach to take because like, man, the amount of autobiographies that I've read or biographies that I've read of like big artists, and it's like you got the glory part of the book and then the money starts coming in and everything goes to shit. And it's like you look at these people as like heroes and they've done all this great stuff, but like it's not nice when money starts coming into it. And it's like I think that's the least important thing, but if you can make money and make it work for the band and for your friendships and stuff, then that's great.
Yeah, I think pretty much every musical biography I've read is like, and then we did this because we loved it, and then we were successful, and then success, and then drugs. Like then there's like and then they all because people get fucking disenfranchised with. All right, we were doing it for this, and then all of a sudden we got so popular, and then I just got on drugs because I hated fucking doing it.
Yeah. But it's money. Money can just be a poison, man. It's like we all need it and stuff, but like the pursuit of it too far, it can really deteriorate friendships. It can deteriorate something that was really fun for everybody in the beginning, and it's sad. So I try not to focus on that, even though it is important. Like to be able to sustain yourself as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we all need money, but I think the people that really get art and really get life know that they only need enough money to be comfortable and to do what they want to do.
Yeah, and if you've got a strong community and you keep people close, then you don't need as much because you're all supported in the journey. So
yeah. The rest of it is all
excuse me,
toys and wanky shit, right?
Exactly.
You don't need an awesome car. You don't need this. If you want one, you want one. You want one. You don't need one.
No. It's even like musical instruments, man. Like, I started making a little bit more money and bought myself a few extra guitars. I still use my fucking Mexican Telecaster that I bought for $600 when I was 18. It's like my go-to guitar, and I was like, the other guitars were kind of just splurges. I'm like, I hardly even use them. It's like, I don't even look at myself. I'm like, why have I got 6 guitars? I'm like, it's because I wanted them. I didn't need them.
Yeah, it's true. And but that does happen. Look,
it is fun too, buying yourself treats, but like...
It is. And with certain equipment and stuff, you can buy them and then you can sit on them, and a lot of them, as long as you do it in the right capacity, you can sell it for less or sometimes with guitar.
Yeah.
Turntables that I've got over there at 25 years old, and I'd sell them more than what I bought them for.
Totally.
Some things are like that, not everything.
Not everything, yeah.
But it is cool to own that sort of stuff. And it doesn't mean that you'll necessarily get more out of it, but it's cool to splurge sometimes on things, especially if it's an artistic sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I agree in like, buy shit that you need that makes you happy, but then don't overindulge to the point of shit that you don't need.
Yeah.
You know?
But like in saying that, like, I don't need 6 guitars, but none of them are going to go down in value, and at least it's a guitar and not a fucking $3,000 TV that I don't need at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
or a $3,000 coke habit or gambling debt. You know what I mean? People waste money on stupid shit.
Yeah.
Buying something physical that brings you a bit of joy that eventually, if times get tough, you could sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't beat yourself up over it.
Totally,
You know? People waste money on some shit.
Yeah, but also you can't be too tight where you don't enjoy your life either. So
I think, man,
balance, isn't it?
That's exactly what I was going to say. It is. It's all about balance.
Totally.
I think that is like the key to life is balance and not overdoing things, enjoying stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's, we're getting too philosophical. But I think balance is a key, man.
Totally. Yeah.
You don't want to overdo it.
Yeah.
And people talk now about work-life balance, and I think people are starting to understand in, the last sort of 20 years, you don't have to have a full-time job working for someone else and fucking hating your life and going home and sleeping and waking up the next day.
Yeah.
You can work for yourself. You can have multiple different gigs that you do to drive income to then enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Because you only get,
and if you wake up and feel good about those things, the extra work put in for yourself, that doesn't feel like a drag. Like, usually working for yourself is pretty hard work, but if you're passionate about it and you do it for yourself, like, you're going to get something out of that greater than the monetary value.
100%, man. Yeah. Flexibility and all that sort of stuff. The other thing is with creative pursuits is like we may not make money from it, but people tell you they enjoy their shit. You know, whether someone messages you, says, I love that 7-inch you put out, or this song means that to me, or with this podcast they say, I really enjoyed this episode, whatever. That's what we get out of it.
Totally.
That's more
and you're
valuable.
just a better person to be around because you're doing something that means something to you. So, yeah.
You know, when you like go to barbecues and stuff and you say to someone you haven't seen for a while, what have you been doing, man? Like, oh, nothing, just work.
Yeah.
You're like, I feel sorry for you, dude.
Yeah.
Like, if that's all you've been doing, like, surely you've like, I worked, but I'm doing this, or we're going here, or doing something.
Totally.
Like, do something.
Yeah. Fucking oath. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all about creating or just having some sort of passion.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't think in this day and age, everyone needs to just work a 9 to 5 and then live a boring existence. There's a lot of different avenues out there, and hopefully there'll be more creative hubs down this way and around the country where people can just follow those sort of passions.
Totally,
and understand and see them. I guess Singing Bird, even though it's a business, it seems to be something that's, working.
Oh, man, I couldn't speak higher of Stu. What he's done down there, man, like that is a perfect example of doing something right. Yeah, like...
Give him the funding.
Give him the funding. Like, that dude's a king.
The awards night that he went to the other night, he called me on the way there. Yeah. And he goes, we're up for this award. And he didn't win the award, but the thing that did win the award doesn't fucking need the money. And that
it never does.
And that's like, I'm like, man, that is fucking just unjust anyway.
Yeah. But that place is like more than just a venue, man. Like, it's a place for people to hang out. Like, it's so much more than just a music and rehearsal space. Like, it's like an institution, that joint.
Yeah. We probably need something else similar to that down here.
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah.
You're the guy.
Oh, I'd love to. I've tried. I've put my brain to a lot of things, but as I said before, I need to reduce how much is on my plate.
It is true. And that's the thing, man. Obviously, you're in X amount of bands.
Yeah.
You've got your family stuff. You've got your actual work
Yeah.
life. You've got your label.
Yeah.
At some stage, you've got to think, I can't do any more because that's just going to take away from the shit I've already got.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of going through that process at the moment, though, especially having a kid. But I'm like, the reduction of some things can spark new energy into something new as well. So it's like, I feel like I'm in like a bit of a transitional period at the moment. Like I've had like 4 or 5 bands going at the one time, the label, working, and having the kid. It's like, oh, cool. This is like a bit of a next chapter, but I don't know what the next chapter is yet. It's like my focus is like my family and stuff, and I want it to be music, but I like, rejuvenate, have some time off, focus on family, hang out, and I'm like, maybe I will like do a music space or something like that. Who knows? I've always been passionate about trying to do that, but it's just like, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it well and have energy to put into it. I don't want to be like half-assed doing it.
Yeah. Do you know what sucks, man? Is like a lot of these people that own a lot of property, they leave it to like churches and stuff.
Yeah.
Or if they left it to some sort of creative people that could use these spaces for something, that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You know, we need someone like that.
Yeah.
Someone who's listening, who's got lots of money. Leave it to some creative
give it to
people.
us.
Anyone, you know.
Yeah.
But
or the other thing, the people that can afford to buy the local bar or something that's up for sale doesn't give a fuck. They've got capital behind them. They don't actually care about engaging with the community. The people that are actually probably pretty competent at doing it are probably people without enough money to actually pursue it.
Yes. And that's another thing that happens. Sometimes these people with money come into hospitality and they're like, oh, I'm going to buy a bar and I'm going to do it. They don't execute it the right way.
No, not at all.
It turns to shit.
Yeah, or I've seen that happen down
I've seen it happen. It does. It does actually happen.
Yeah.
Iggy Pop. He played a Stiffy song.
Yeah. Yeah,
on his radio show, or his what was it?
It was on his radio show. Yeah.
That's awesome. Man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Is that like when that happens, you're like, fuck?
Yeah, it's a couple of things like that have happened, but it's like it's funny. It was nice for Wolfie, like because Wolf's mum was like obsessed with Iggy, and he's kind of been like our Iggy Pop of the peninsula, and like I don't know, it was kind of. I don't care as much about that celebrity stuff, and I don't think like any of us do. But like, it's a nice thing to get to a point where you get recognised like that, and as friends to be like, oh, that's cool. We got some recognition from fucking Iggy Pop.
Does he back announce it, or he just plays it?
He read our names out, which was like really cool, and was like, that's off an album Dig, and like blah blah, and read our names out, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, like so. But yeah, like that stuff. Yeah,
it validates.
I don't know. I don't know how to put it to words, but like I don't care that much of being recognised by someone else, but it is also at the same time really nice. You're like, oh, cool. We did it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff, and like we were saying, man, like there may not be any financial stuff, but that's the kind of pat on the back. That's why you do it.
Yeah.
Right? When people reach out to you and say, I like what you're doing, it's cool. When someone who you look up to likes what you're doing, it's even cooler.
Yeah, yeah. But like, I guess where I'm getting at is like, it's also like so awesome when like, for instance, like Golden Plains is probably the most special moment that we had as a band for Stiffies. We always wanted to play that place, really dear to our heart. And we had our mates in the crowd and so much like, there was such a massive energy transfer. And like that moment for us is like 100-fold of like Iggy Pop reading out our names. It's like, it's a really cool thing to happen. But like that Golden Plains set was like indescribable.
Yeah.
Like the energy exchange and all our friends, and we'd like gone and seen bands there for like the last 10 years of our life and always dreamt of it. And having that moment is like 10-fold of getting read out on the radio by somebody.
Yeah.
So it's like a funny thing. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And it's like a cool tick. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, like that's mad. But
that's because your band has been formed and has always been about energy. And that energy transfer doesn't happen on the radio. It happens in real life.
You can't pay for it. Like no one could set that moment up. That was like a
natural
significant high. Like you can't replicate that with any kind of money or any person reading something out. Like so that Yeah, it's funny when moments like that happen. It's like there's the Iggy Pop thing, but then like the Golden Plains thing for us was just like it'll never be beaten, and it's such a special thing to like hit something like that as friends and as a group and go like nothing's gonna beat that. You could give us Glastonbury tomorrow, and it's like oh cool whatever, like because we already did that like. Yeah.
So you think you've reached the
dude,
pinnacle?
Well for me I can't speak for the other boys, but I like they're my best friends, and I'm like I'm pretty sure everyone feels the same. Like there's little moments like that are like a thousandfold of like any little accolade that you get. Like yeah.
It's interesting, man.
Yeah.
So you think that's it? You think the Stiffies are peaked?
It's not it. I'm not closing it off, but like I don't think that anything will beat that moment for me. Like musically, it'll be like from now is like sustaining being creative and stuff. But like it's a special thing in life when you hit a moment where you're like that was it. That was that moment that will like never be recreated. And I don't know if anything will ever reach that high again.
Amazing.
It's a nice thing. It's not a sad thing. It's like
and no one can ever take that away from you, man. That
never.
memory's there forever.
Yeah,
no, it's perfect.
Yeah, so
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that's not the pinnacle for the Stiffies. I hope that's just the beginning, man. And then your next tour, you going to the Europe?
We're going to Europe with Split System.
Oh, so where and what's on the cards for the Stiffies then?
Stiffies, we're really hoping to try to get a new album done. But as I said before, like there's like family and other bands being busy, so all of us are just like taking a breath. And
where do you record now?
We record, depends on who's available, who we're doing it with, but like nearly all our bands have like always just picked a spot that feels good and don't really put too much into getting like a good studio or something. All the Stiffies albums have been recorded. We did first album in a mate's like school cubicle thing on his farm, Travie and Muradoc.
School cubicle?
Yeah, it was like a
portable
like
building.
Portable, that's what it, not a cubicle, portable. It was a school portable thing that was like set up as a studio. So that was the first album. Second one was like an old abandoned southeast water tower up at Sorrento near the water towers.
Yeah, sick.
Just like a roller door shed that we got the key to. Set up with mics in there and recorded with Mikey over a weekend.
What's that owned by like the...
It's just like Southeast Water or something. We got the key and we used to go jam up there. So like there's never been... Like, if we did another Stiffies album, we'd probably do it Singing Bird because, like, that's where we rehearse.
Yeah.
And Stu's great, and it's just, like, somewhere where we're comfortable. So, just, like, follow that energy, I guess, like, whatever feels right.
So that's what's on the cards for the Stiffies. Then you've got Split System European Tour coming up 2025?
Yes, 2025, yep. In May, mid-May.
And then you've got more releases on Legless Records?
Yep. Street Sweeper just came out today, 7-inch. Which is killer.
Which will be last week when this comes out.
Yep. So last Thursday. So it's out now.
And shout out the website or how people could fucking.
So Legless Records Bandcamp or any of the bands, you can go on their Bandcamp. They're linked. Mm-hmm. That's the main place for like record sales and stuff and some of the merch. I had the Breaks album just come out last month, and then next year I've got a couple of Split System 7-inches. And I guess I could announce them now. They're not announced yet, but there's a Leatherman album and The States, which is like probably the best modern version of like Susie Q. I don't even want to compare it to something else, but it's like fucking proper rockin'.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that album will probably come out around March, I reckon.
And then just more family stuff for you as well.
More family, yeah. Try to tick off a few releases over the year and just see what happens.
For sure.
Yeah.
Man, we're pushing almost an hour and 45.
Holy shit.
It goes quick, hey?
Goes quick.
Goes really quick. Is there anyone you want to shout out or anything you want to say before we start to wrap it up, man?
No.
No?
What day is it today?
Today will be Thursday next week.
Thursday next week. Trying to think of any gigs. The Breaks album launches this Friday, so it's going to be afterwards. Nah, I've got nothing, man. Okay. Yeah.
All right. We'll shout out Woodsy, and you can check out his over there. We'll shout out Woodsy, and you can check out his doco.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And I'm guessing that you that means a bit to you, the doco as well.
Yeah, I think it means a lot to all of us. It was Woodsy did a great job. Yeah.
I'll put a link of the doco in the description. Man, It's been a good chat.
Thank you.
It's great to meet other creative people down the peninsula, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
You know where I am, and I'm sure we'll catch up. We'll have more beers, and we'll have other chats when you're
let's do
further
it again.
on the journey of the splitties and the stiffies, the stiffies and the splitties.
Hell yeah.
Cheers. Thanks for coming.
Man.